Okay, great. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us again for another live stream event with our students from St Hilda's. My name is Emma, and I am the Undergraduate Admissions and Outreach Officer here at St Hilda's College. And with me, I have some students. So I'm going to pass over to them for them to introduce themselves. They're just going to let you know their name, what course they're studying, and what year they're in. So if I pass over to Rachel first.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm currently going into my second year and I study law.
Matthew? Oh, Matthew, you are on mute, I'm afraid. Oh, there we go. I think we can hear you now.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Apologies. Yeah, hi, I'm Matthew. I'm also going into my second year and I'm studying German and Italian.
Great. And last but not least, Hannah.
Hi, I'm Hannah, also going into second year and I do biomed.
Wonderful, great. So today's live stream, we're going to talk all things student, all things Hilda's and life as a student here, and we're just going to get a bit of insight about what it's like to be a student here. So if you do have any questions for our students, please do feel free to ask them. You can ask them in two ways mainly. You can pop them in the Slido chat, or you can pop them on YouTube, and I will have a look at them every now and then, and I will ask our students those questions. So please do feel free to ask those questions. But to kick things off, I think I'll ask you quite a broad question, which is, could you describe St Hilda's to us, or what's good about it, what's bad about it, and what's the best thing about it? Rachel, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I guess I think if you asked most people in Oxford what they think of Hilda's, they'd probably say it's like a very friendly and like down to earth place. I think that's the best way I could describe it. It's just very welcoming, very friendly, and I just think the opposite of what you might imagine an Oxford college to be like in terms of, you might be scared that it's intimidating, or very serious, but actually I've found Hilda's to be really fun and really friendly as well.
Great. How about you, Matthew?
Yeah, I would say the same. I say the sense of community at Hilda's is massive. I say you see it in the dining hall and you go down and you can sit at a table, at a round table, and chat to people who I've had conversations with people who are in their third year doing maths. It couldn't be more different from my position, but it's been lovely to talk to new people. And the Hilda spirit is massive. Everyone comes together. For the football, Hilda's won the football competition in 2020, and everyone in the staff, everyone that could come, came to watch them win, and it really embodies what Hilda's is all about.
And Hannah, how do you find St Hilda's?
Yeah, I totally agree with what they've said. It's like so friendly and I feel like quite comfortable there. Like moving from school to Hilda's didn't feel like as big as a jump compared to some other colleges. Because like Rachel was saying, they're quite like Harry Potter, like a little bit intimidating sort of thing. And I'd definitely say like we're really lucky to be like by the river. It's really pretty, especially in sun, like when the sun's setting, because you can kind of see like Radcam and like the Oxford skyline like in the distance. But then you've also got like all the grass which you can actually like walk and sit on, which isn't the same as some other colleges. So yeah, it's just really nice.
I think in the Q&A section in Slido, someone asked about the round tables, and they said, did that really make a difference to you guys? Has that made a big difference? I guess you don't know any different apart from, either round tables, but does it make a difference?
I know we always bang on about it because it's like our USP, but it is actually, I think it's really helpful because it just makes it a way more informal setting. I think there is something about those really, those big long bench tables in those scary dining halls that can almost seem a bit too formal. And I think being able to sit at a table, 8 or 9 people all together, and you might sit with someone you don't really know, who might join your table. And I think it makes it so much easier just to socialize in that way. And that's why we love going on about it, because I do think it makes a difference.
So keeping in, if we go down the route of the dining hall and food, I think a lot of people get very, very worried about what they're going to eat when they come to college, whether their dietary requirements are going to be met, all those sorts of things. So I just kind of want to know what you guys think of the food. What do you think of the variety of the options? Do you like it? If anyone would like to, Hannah, if I go
Yeah,
to you.
so you get like a menu every week sort of thing that's all written out. So if there's like something that you don't particularly like, you'll kind of know in advance. So it's not like you're going to go to hall and then not find anything that you like enjoy. But there's definitely quite a lot of variety. Like there's different themes, like different countries sort of thing. Pudding's normally good. I'd say that's kind of like my favorite. Love a like apple crumble or something. But yeah, there is a lot of choice. Like there's vegetarian, vegan, all like the dietary stuff's like written on a board so you can see, say, if you're allergic to something, what you can and can't eat, sort of thing. So yeah, it's really easy. It's nice to just like rock up and then be able to like pick the food that you want and then just eat quite easily.
I think that's another good thing about Hilda's is like unlike some other colleges where you have to pre-book your meals and you like pay for them in advance, which means like you have to have the 3 courses that they give you and you say I've booked Thursday dinner and you have to go. The Hilda system is like almost like a pay as you go. You top up your student ID basically with meal credit, and then depending on what you buy, you pay according to that. So it's way more flexible. Like if you suddenly realize you're going to be staying in the library a bit extra or you're out and you can't make it back for dinner, it doesn't mean you're going to miss the meal that you've already paid for, which is the case in some other colleges, which is quite helpful. Also, to plug Saturday Brunch, which is brilliant. We love that. It's great, full English, which is really good.
I've heard on many, many occasions that it's legendary. So, yes, I know, I have heard about the brunch. So, what about the cost of the food and the cost of the dining hall? Is it really expensive, do you find, or is it manageable? Matthew, how have you found the cost of the food here?
I think it's definitely manageable. I think we found the best value for money was definitely Saturday brunch. There you can get a lot of food and it's very cheap. But just on a general basis, I've always found that it's perfectly reasonable for everything really, and the portion sizes are good. So I've been very happy. I eat a lot and I'm always full no matter what they give me. So I'm always happy coming out to the dining hall, and I think it is really good value for money. So it's great. Yeah.
I think for like a dinner, it's usually about anywhere between like £3 and £5, depending on what you get. But that's usually how much I found I spent. And Matthew was talking about the portion sizes. I found them massive. Like I don't think you're going to be coming out of hall hungry, because they do give you a lot for the money you're paying as well. So I think it's really good value.
And you guys take part in, well, you guys have formals as well. Could you explain a bit more about what formals are? How formal are formals? How often do they happen? What actually happens and what do you do? Rachel, would you like to let us know what formals are?
Yeah, so formals are basically like this dinner that everyone in college gets together for. I think usually they're done in your year groups or mixed, really. And in some colleges, there's like a compulsory one that you have to go to every week. Some of them have like 3 formals a week, but at Hilda's, we usually have 1 a week, and that's optional as well. You get a 3-course meal, but for super cheap, it's usually like £12 to £15 or something. And you basically just come together. You can sit in the nice new pavilion building, which we have, which is really nice, overlooking the river. It's like a big glass building. And it's just a nice meal where you get together with your friends. And for some of them, you might wear a gown. Like I remember we had our welcome formal when we first joined the uni. We wore our gowns, but it's usually like a smart casual kind of thing. You can really wear whatever you want. You know, it's not super intensely formal. And it's really nice. You just get to be around with everyone and have some good food.
Great, cool. That's a great summary. So I've just noticed that someone's asked on the chat, are gluten-free options available for food at St Hilda's? Gluten-free bread, pasta, pizza, etc. Do you guys know anything about having gluten-free meals, for example?
So some of my friends are gluten free. There are like a few options, but I would just say definitely check beforehand. But usually there is like at least like something like for a main and like a few sides. But I would like definitely just check before, like on like the menu, just to make sure that there's something that you like, because obviously they can't offer a huge variety, but I do know that they do try their hardest.
Yeah, definitely. And for our incoming freshers, what we do ask is that they do sort of say, if you have any dietary requirements, just pop them in, just so that we can pass it on to the catering service when you arrive. So that is sent to them in advance as well. Okay, perfect. So you guys are all going into your second year, so I'm imagining you guys are all living out for this upcoming year. Um, how has it been finding a house? Have you enjoyed the process? Are you happy where you're living now, or about to go and live? Because I think people get quite nervous about living out, and yeah, it would be great to know how you guys think of it. Sort of just about to go into your second year. Matthew, how have you found it all?
Um, I have to admit, it was a difficult process at the beginning because there are obviously a limited number of houses and loads of people would like to live in the Cowley Road, Iffley Road area. But we sort of started looking um, from the mid to the end of Michaelmas term, the first term of in the Oxford academic year, and we managed to find one. Put a deposit down, and I'm there now. In fact, I've moved into the house. It's 5 minutes away from college, so I think it's really nice as well that often when people are living out, they don't spread themselves out all over Oxford. So a lot of my friends are in houses nearby to me, and so it feels like we're still all connected to the college, even though we're living out now. And you obviously have more to think about in terms of water bills and rent and things, and it's slightly more complicated than if you were just paying for your fees to live in college. But being so close is wonderful, and we're planning to, as a household, to come back and enjoy the lovely meals at Hilda's in the dining hall. So it's really nice. I think second years at Hilda's still do stay connected to college even once they move out, which I think is great.
Great. Would anybody else like to talk a bit about their experience of looking for a house?
Yeah, I can go next. I definitely think, yeah, there's definitely a lot of people who are looking for houses, but once you've found yours, I do think it's really nice to have the opportunity to live out independently. And another massive thing is, when people talk about their uni experience, obviously at a lot of other unis, everyone lives out in second year. And obviously not all the colleges do that here. I think what's nice is that you get that experience of living out like you would at other unis and have that independence of basically living with your friends for a year, which I think is really fun, aside from all the bills and that kind of thing. I do think it's a really fun opportunity to like basically just sort of live like a proper adult, which is probably the first time for a lot of people that they've actually done that, cooking for themselves and just being able to do what you want. And I think the freedom and the flexibility that you get with that is also really nice.
Does it help as well not knowing that, sorry, does it help knowing that you don't have to leave after 8 weeks as well? Knowing that you've got the whole year and this is your house and this is your room and this is your stuff. Hannah, how has it been for you?
I would definitely say that's an advantage. Like I'm in the house now, and obviously I've never really experienced Oxford out of term time. So I sort of like only really associated it with like the busy like term life of like going to tutes and like doing lectures and like having work to do. So it's been quite nice to like just be able to like take in Oxford for what Oxford kind of is. And also I'd say that there is like support still when you are looking for like housing. So I know on the JCR Facebook page, so like the Hilda's Facebook page, there was like someone posted like a little list of like letting agents that are like good or bad, like people who you might need to like stay away from. Because obviously like as a uni student, you're just not gonna know those sort of things. And there's definitely help out there. So like with the college families, you can ask like your parents, so someone in the year above, what their experience was. So I know that in this house last year, there were like Hilda's second years. So we sort of already kind of knew that it was a nice house and like a nice letting agent and that sort of thing. So yeah, definitely made it a bit easier.
Oh, great. That sounds really helpful. Um, so what about accommodation on site? How did you find the accommodation as a first year, and then arriving as a first year and then going into your accommodation. How did you find the facilities here? Um, I'll go to you, Rachel, if that's okay.
So basically, all the first years are spread out between three different buildings. So I was in garden building. And in terms of facilities, so I was on a floor with 14. So there was 14 of us all together. I thought that was really nice because we it was like a little family. Like we'd all get together and we would like order food together on a Friday night, for example, or we'd, watch a film together. And I really like that sense of, especially when you're just moving in, I think having quite a lot of people that you could speak to is really nice. And obviously you're sharing a kitchen facility. So the kitchen facilities depend on which building you're in, but I think all of them do have a like fridge, freezer, microwave, toaster, that kind of thing. I think in Matthew and Hannah's building, they actually had an oven, like a hob as well. So my building didn't have that. But because we are also catered for in hall, that wasn't too much of an issue because we just eat in hall and then we might make ourselves our own lunch in the kitchen. And in terms of, bathroom spaces, even though it's shared bathrooms, I really didn't have any issues with that. I never had it where I was, queuing up or waiting to get in the shower. And so I thought it was pretty good.
I think a lot of people do worry about sharing facilities, especially sharing bathrooms and things. Without going into too much detail, but Matthew, how did you find sharing the facilities? Did you find it problematic at all, or was it all okay?
No, I would say it was never problematic. It's quite simple, really. I never had to queue for a shower. Um, so it was great. I was on in Wolfson building, which is the other one of the three buildings along with South that students will stay in. And again, there was 14 on my floor, and we had three toilets and four showers, and I never really found any problem with it. Maybe on the odd occasion I would have to wait until someone was done, but it was very rare. And the toilets were always kept pretty clean, and that was also thanks to the wonderful work of our scouts, John, who would come and clean. And especially in COVID times, that was important, to keep everything as clean as possible. But I'd say it wasn't a problem at all. And you get used to it very quickly. I thought I would have a harder time than I did, but in fact, you do get used to it. And I guess it's nice not having an ensuite, because if you have an ensuite, there's more pressure to keep it. So you also have to then clean that, and it's then your responsibility as well. And so I don't think it was a problem at all. It was quite smooth and easy to adapt to.
Yeah. And then what about the practicalities of living there? So things like doing your washing and I don't know if you guys iron your clothes, but were all those things quite easy to do in your building, Catherine? Hannah, sorry.
So in Wolfson, which is the building I was in, I think now there's only like one washer and one dryer downstairs on the ground floor. But there's also, so there's CBB, which is another building, and then that has like a designated sort of like washing room. So I think there's like about 3 washing machines and 3 dryers. So I mean, it doesn't sound like many for how many students there are, but it's not really that much of a problem. So it's with Circuit. You might have heard of it. I think it's like quite common in quite a few like universities. But basically, you get an app and then you scan like this QR code, and that's how you pay to do your washing. There is quite a lot of like other people taking your clothes and putting them on the top of the dryer, but that's like easily managed as long as you like set a timer for when your washing machine is done. You can just quickly run down and get it. Ironing, I'm going to be honest, I don't iron my clothes. Like I might iron a shirt for like subfusk, which is like what you have to wear for it's like the specific Oxford dress. But apart from that, I don't really iron. And there is an iron in the washroom, so you don't need to bring one.
Okay, great. Let's talk a little bit more about your studies and how you're getting on and how you're finding your studies. It must be quite different from school. Must be quite a bit of hopefully not too much of a jump, but it's definitely a different style, I would imagine, from school. Hannah, I'm going to go straight back to you actually. How have you found going from sixth form to first year? How did you find that?
I think the big thing for me, because obviously I did lots of science at school. So I did maths, chemistry, biology, and then I came to do biomed. And I'd never written an essay before, really, not a proper essay in my life until I'd come. And then I had like two to three to do a week. So obviously that was kind of a big jump, but there is like a lot of support for that. So you can ask your tutor who sets you the essay question for like clarification or like more information if you don't quite understand. There's also a writing fellow. So if you're struggling more with like actually getting your words like down and like how to structure it, you can go and make a meeting with her, and then she can just like improve like your actual writing skills and not just like the content. And then again, there's college family. So there was so many like messages from me to my college mother, like, I don't get it, help me, like the night before an essay was due, just trying to like get down the key facts. But I think don't stress too much, because I can remember when I was first here, like I was like, every essay has to be perfect. But realistically, it's not really possible. Like as long as you've tried and you've got your key points down, like you get more from like actually going to the tute afterwards and like talking about what you've written and like what you've read and like hearing from the tutor like the key points that should have been in your essay even though they weren't. Like that's kind of where all the learning is.
And Matthew, as a linguist, are you expected to be sort of fluent straight away, or are they a bit? Do they ease you into it, or how have you found the languages course?
No, they definitely don't expect you to be fluent straight away. And they're very aware of the fact that everyone's coming in with slightly different abilities because people may have done different A-level specifications, and especially with language, it's not so standardized as you would as a biologist, where they've all done, let's say, AQA or EdXL. It's very different, and people would have different abilities even coming in, which they can kind of see that from the MLAT, which is the admissions test for languages, and the tutors can see from there where you are. I started Italian as a beginner student, so I'd never done Italian before, and that was really difficult but so much fun, and I would highly recommend anyone that's thinking of going for it to go for it, because it's so worth it. And they're aware that you're on a different level and you're set accordingly to your level. So in the grammar classes, it's set based on your grammar ability. For Italian, it's set into 4 groups, 3 pre-A level and 1 post-A level. And the tutors are lovely. I had one-on-one. I was lucky enough to have one-on-one lessons with my Italian tutor every week, and that was kind of outside of what he was expected to do as a tutor. He put those on for you. So I say the tutors, especially for languages, really do go above and beyond to give you the best experience possible. And I've absolutely loved it. I've had a great time so far. I'm looking forward to second year.
Brilliant. And Rachel, studying law, did you study law at A level?
So no, I didn't, but it's not a requirement at all to go on and do the law degree.
Yeah. How have you found studying a subject that you didn't study beforehand? Have you found it, is there sort of, what's the right word? Do they lead you into it nicely, or are they expecting quite a lot straight away?
I think that it's almost an appeal to the fact that you haven't studied it before, because it's something that sort of combines all the skills that you might be interested in. So personally, when I was deciding between, either doing history and politics or law, because both of them use the same sort of things that I'm interested in, debating and writing essays and a lot of reading as well. And so what was quite nice was I could take those skills and then apply them to something new. And there was no expectation that you knew anything about law whatsoever. As you went in, it was just, I'm interested in it and I'm going to go and learn about it. But I think, adapting from sixth form to coming to uni, I think in terms of the content, obviously it's very different because I've never studied it before. But again, it's using the same sort of skills. I'm still writing essays. And so a lot of what I did at A level is still really relevant to me now. And I think there's definitely a jump in the terms of the amount of work, because there's a lot more reading than I was doing before. And there's a lot more essays. But the foundations of what I'm doing really hasn't changed all that much.
I've got a question in the Slido, and it's specifically for Hannah, and they say, how did you prepare for your interview?
So there was like a little story behind that. So from my school, there was, I think, 3 people that applied to Cambridge, and then there was only me that applied to Oxford. And the 3 other people got interview practice, but for whatever reason, my school decided not to give me anything, and I was just like, oh, just go on your way and just do it. So I think like the main takeaway from that is that there's nothing specific that's gonna like help you get in, sort of thing. Like those 3 other people unfortunately didn't make it, like didn't get an offer from Cambridge, and like so I wasn't put at a disadvantage from that. I think the main thing is I had 4 interviews in one day, so 2 at each college, and it's just a conversation. I think the more relaxed that you feel going into it, the more able you feel to like give your true opinion and not worry about if you're right or you're wrong. Like looking back, I said so many things that just aren't true. Like I don't really know why I said them, but like as long as you can kind of sort of like say your thought process and like really like get across what you're thinking, it really like the actual content of what you're saying doesn't matter. It's more just like the thinking behind it.
I have an extra question on top of that. Did you find that your interview sort of gave you a bit more understanding of maybe what a tutorial is like, or not?
Well, in the interview, they sort of give you a problem. So for biomed, I had like 1 graph, and in another one, I had like a diagram of like 10 Mars bars a day or 10 beers a day, which one's worse for your health. So they're sort of like looking more into like your critical thinking skills. But in a tute, you go looking at like a certain topic within biomed. So that becomes more of a like a discussion into like the actual like mechanics of something. I think in a tute, it's not, you don't need any prior, like in the interview, sorry, you don't need any prior knowledge. But in a tute, it's more you come prepared about a certain thing, and then they sort of like pick your brains, and then you can ask questions more within a tute.
Yeah. Cool. Just looking at some more questions. Someone's asked, is there second year accommodation?
So yeah, there is some second year accommodation on site. I think most people choose to live out second year, but there are spaces and you ballot for those. So in terms of which room you get and which building it is, if you're interested in living in college second year for whatever reason, you apply to the room ballot, which happens at the end of first year, I think in the summer between, and then you get allocated a room. And I think the idea is that everyone will be able to live in second year in a couple of years' time as well. I think college is working to that.
Yeah, I think we're looking into hopefully in a number of years to be able to do that, but at the moment it's not guaranteed that you can have a second year room. So I think most second years live out. And then I know we covered it briefly, but someone has also asked, what is the formal like? But I guess we've already sort of covered that a little bit, haven't we? Is there anything else about formals that we missed out on?
Yeah, I would say another important element is the themed formals. So you have a family formal, there was a sports formal, there was a formal for rowing, an LGBTQ plus formal, all kinds of formals. And that's great because you get to meet people from different year groups who have shared interests or part of a shared group to you. And I loved it. I got to know so many second years who are now going into third year, and some third years as well who have now graduated. So I love the fact that it's not just a way for you to talk to people from your year. It's also a way to bridge the gap across different years, which sometimes might be difficult if, unlike in other colleges where everyone's living in for pretty much all of the years, and you'll see people in the college, first years might not see second years very often if they're living out, unless for special occasions. So I think it's lovely to be able to bridge that gap and meet people with a shared interest with you. Yeah.
Great. I I'm actually going to touch a bit more on that about making friends and when you arrive and stuff. I guess you guys arrived last year, which was, I think it was quite a quiet year for everybody. Nothing was going on, no big issues going on. But how did you guys find making friends and settling in? I mean, that must have been quite tough coming in with this huge pandemic going on, with lots of rules and regulations going on and having to keep your distance from people, all these sorts of things. How did you find settling in and making friends? Was it easy to do? I'll go to Hannah if that's okay.
So I think it kind of worked a little bit in our favor because obviously we were put into households at the beginning and they were kind of the only people you could get like really like close to and like hang out with. So I think that made us all a little bit closer because they were like, we sort of like got to know them really well first. And then as we were like moving through the pandemic, we could like branch out a little bit and like get to know like the other floors and the other buildings. When in like a normal year, obviously everyone's mixing all together. So like people are going out and you might not like cross paths with the people you're living with a bit as much. So I feel like, yeah, it kind of did work to our favor. But going through, there were like quite a few different ways to meet people. So in hall, they set up these like screens so you could sit in like tables of different households, which sounds like really clinical and like not very good, but it actually was completely fine. And then like going on throughout the year as like restrictions lifted, we had like different things going on. So at Halloween, I know we went to Plush, which was one of the clubs in Oxford, and then they did like table service and like we could just like, it was as close to a night out as like we got really.
Cool. Matthew, how did you find it settling in?
Yeah, I have to admit the Michaelmas was a bit of a difficult time. Unfortunately, right after Freshers Week, our household went into lockdown, and we were the first household in Hilda's to be in isolation for COVID. But that actually did work out in our favour. We all bonded so much. We ended up doing "Come Dine with Me" as a household where we'd all cook. Each cooked one night, and we had we'd judge our scores and a small cash prize for the winner at the end, and we'd film videos of ourselves giving our ratings of the other people's food, and it was just great. We ended up playing a lot of board games and really came together as a group, and it was great because we were a bit of an unlikely bunch who'd been thrown together by the fact that we were in isolation, only known each other for a week, but we ended up forming really close bonds from that, and beyond that, just throughout. Yeah, really what Hannah said is so important about that there are so many different ways to meet people, that I made a lot of close friends in Trinity term because I started rowing. And up until that point, I hadn't met many of the people from garden building because of COVID restrictions. And so through rowing, I was able to meet so many more people. And as the restrictions on the bar started to lift, meeting people in the bar and watching a lot of the football matches in the bar, the Euro football matches, was absolutely great. So yeah, it was obviously difficult at first with a lockdown. You thought this is really the end of me being able to meet new people, but actually in a strange way really fostered some great friendships. So yeah, it wasn't too difficult at all. As long as you're sort of open to meeting new people. If you isolate yourself and shut yourself away, it's always going to be difficult. But as long as you have an open mind and willing to chat to anyone, it's very easy in the end, mostly.
Rachel, how did you find it in garden building?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I think as Matthew said, there was it was a little bit harder to know people from different buildings because we were because of the restrictions. But what was really nice was, come Trinity term when restrictions were being lifted, so that was the summer term, everyone was able to sort of in some capacity mix a bit better. And we had things like, as in your background, the lawn out there, we would go out and sit there and you could meet people and you could sit, and we would, we'd take our food from hall sometimes and we'd go and sit outside, especially in the summer, which was really nice. And so definitely as the year progressed and as the restrictions lifted, it definitely got more and more easy to mix and make new friends between the buildings, as well as all the friendships that we'd made whilst we were in, the height of the lockdown. But another good thing was that societies were still running. Obviously, some things couldn't, like certain sports, say, because, close contact, you couldn't do that. But obviously, rowing came back in summer as well. But there's a lot of societies that you could still be involved with. So one of the ones that I'm quite involved with was Women in Law. And that's how I actually ended up being able to make friends, not only in different subjects, but actually from different colleges, because we would go to the same event and we'd be able to connect through that. And so, not only within college, but, as the university as a whole, you can still really get very involved with all the different societies, whether it's sports or subject societies or, I don't know, some really niche hobby that you might have. And you can get involved that way and find, again, as Matthew said, people with similar interests.
Great. So I've just seen another question, and it says, what is the atmosphere in St Hilda's like, and does it differ from other colleges? If it does differ, how so? So, the vibe of St Hilda's, what is it like?
I'd say it's very laid back. Like, as soon as you walk in, I think like the buildings help because we're not like got the super old like Oxfordy buildings. We've got like a lot of open space. We've got the grass and like the flowers and everything. Everything just feels quite chilled compared to some colleges in Oxford, which is like really nice.
I definitely agree. I think in terms of the vibe, Hilda's is, a little different because it's just so, I guess, chilled out, relaxed. It's a really sort of, I always go for down to earth. I think it's really, there's no sense of pretentiousness or, that Oxford stereotype that you might talk about. It really is just so friendly and down to earth. And, people are very welcoming, I think, which is really nice. And it makes for it makes it way less intimidating, especially when you're moving in, because it obviously, going to uni can be quite scary, but actually you get there and it just feels very homely, I guess. That's the way I describe it. Very just chilled out.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. I'd also say in terms of Oxford's a very high pressure academic institution, but there isn't this sort of pressure I know at other colleges. If you want to compare the atmosphere of getting to the top of the Norrington table and everyone has to be doing, getting firsts in every essay, and there's a sort of a toxic culture of comparison between people. I didn't find that to be the case at all. Even with people that I'm, sharing my tutorials with, there was never this toxic culture or, oh, what did you get? And, oh, I got this mark, and, lording it over others when you get a higher mark, which I had heard of from other colleges, and I have friends at other colleges who have experienced that a bit. And I didn't find that to be the case at all at Hilda's. And instead, it's really welcoming, and people work hard, but it's not working hard because you're being shouted at by your tutors to work hard. It's working hard because you genuinely love your subject and want to do well. And there isn't this, and despite not having this strict academic, fist bearing down on you, we still manage to do amazingly in the tables. So it shows that you don't need to have that, and it's not a particularly nice environment to be in.
Just to add to that, actually, going on from it, not being as competitive between you in the subject, actually, I found it's been really collaborative, which has been really nice. Like within my cohort, so the other law students, we found that if there's a question that we don't know about, I can just go to my friend's room and I'll sit in there and I'll be like, do you know what you're doing for the essay? And we'll just go through it and we'll talk through it. And, we might brainstorm ideas and be like, oh, okay, that makes so much more sense to me now. Or, equally, with reading lists, if you're struggling to find a piece of material that you need to read, you can ask your friend and they might have it and they'll be able to send it to you. But just generally, that very collaborative attitude has really helped, especially settling in first year.
Cool. That sounds like a lovely atmosphere. Okay, great. Talking of people at other colleges, have you found it easy to make friends at other colleges? Is it easy to do that?
I think just to sort of repeat, I guess, what I said before, but definitely being involved in societies really helps because those are obviously across the entire uni. So there's different people getting involved. The people who run it will be from different colleges. The people attending the events will be from different colleges. So it's really nice because you're obviously bonding over shared interests, which makes it so much easier. But equally, it's really good for if there's something that you've not tried out yet and you want to you want to go, especially with the sports. There's a lot of different levels that you can get involved with. So even if you're a complete beginner, you can actually just go and bond with friends by going. I know a lot of people at Hilda's bonded by going to like the first rowing tryouts, and they were like, we'll try it out. If it's really difficult and I'm not a rower, I won't go again. But they went for that first one, and actually it was really quite fun, and people met other people through going to those.
Okay, great. Is there anything that you know now that you didn't know before you arrived that you would like to have known? Sounds a bit convoluted, but is there anything that you know now that you didn't know before that would have been really helpful to know?
I think especially for my subject, again, I can only speak for German and Italian, that you don't need to bring all your notes from A level, when in fact it's probably not so useful, because they'll come at it from a different angle for university. So I guess for me, basic things like dictionaries and things that you had, language-based things from A level were useful, but it's not necessary for you to sort of be revising all the things that you've studied at A level before you come to Oxford necessarily, because it's again, it's a very new thing, and I think especially for something like law, I imagine it's because you haven't done it at A level. Normally, it's they do take it with you from the beginning. So just not to stress too much about going back over things or bringing massive bags of notes with you from A level and thinking you'll be tested on them. It's not actually normally the case. So. Yeah.
I think from my end, something I wish I'd known was, it sounds really stupid, but you will have a social life, because I think that's something that people get really worried. I know I was really worried about it before I came, was, people had said, oh, it's Oxford, you're not going to have any time for yourself, or you're not going to make any friends, you're just going to be in the library all the time. And I've just found that that's not true. Obviously it depends on where you are, when your deadlines are. You might be busy one night because you've got an essay to finish, or you've got a lecture that you've got to catch up on, or whatever it is. But people really do still get involved in the social side of things. People do want to go out. People do want, whether or not that's clubbing or having a movie night, people do want to get involved, and people do want to really get involved with things beyond their studies. From sports to societies to just going out with friends, going out for dinner, going out clubbing, whatever it is. But there is that side of it, and it isn't just purely academics. And I really wish I hadn't stressed so much about that before I came.
Cool. So guys, what do you think of Oxford itself? Oxford as a city to live in. How have you found it? Has it been a safe place? Has it been a easily accessible place? Is it big? Is it small? How have you found it?
So Oxford's not really that big when you think about it compared to like other cities, which is quite nice, because like, say if you're like, I don't know, walking to prep or going to the library, you're like always running into like someone and then even if it's like a really busy day, like that 5-minute like quick conversation with someone that you've just seen on the street can like really like improve a day. And I think it like makes this community feel from like just seeing lots of faces, like you don't feel like you're like this stranger in this big city, because like when you look around, there are just people you recognize. So yeah, it's quite nice.
I think that's what's so nice about Oxford, is it's like somehow everyone knows everyone. It'll be a friend of a friend, or someone who went to this one form, or who knows someone else. And it means that literally, like as Hannah said, every time you're walking in town, I don't think there's a single time I've walked into town and not bumped into someone I know, which is really quite nice, because obviously there's people in completely different subjects or in different colleges, yet you all do get to know each other, especially across the 3 years. But also Oxford as a city is just, I absolutely love it. I think it's a really pretty city. I think it's really quite nice that it's not too big. I've never had to get the bus anywhere. It's a very pedestrian city, or you can bike it. A lot of people will cycle in from college, or from their second year house, but everything is 10 to 20 minute walk wherever you're going. It's very easy to get around in that sense, and it's quite nice because all the libraries and the faculty buildings are all quite close together actually, compared to other big cities. So it's very easy to get between them and then back to college very quickly.
Yeah, I've absolutely loved it. I mean, I chose to spend a lot of a lot of August here in Oxford instead of back home in London, because I loved it so much in first year. And it is really nice to be here when there isn't the sort of strict pressure, or of term, I guess, of work. And just the shops are great in central Oxford. Lovely parks you can go and sit in on a nice day, or come into Hilda's and go and sit by the river. So Blackwell's and Waterstones and all kinds of. If you're into books, there's no place better to be, really. And really lovely old pubs. So I'd just say it's lovely to be in Oxford, and you can really get anywhere walking or take a bike. I mean, it's a 15-minute walk from Hilda's to the centre, or less, really, more like 10 minutes sometimes. And if you're going by bike, then I've had days where I've hopped on a bike and within 5 minutes I'm at the law library and I'm working there, and then spend a couple of hours working there, and within 5 minutes I'm back home again. So it's everything is so easily accessible in Oxford, and yeah, it's great.
Great. So we've had another question, and someone's asked, how did you spend your summer before heading off to Oxford? Is it recommended to do some introductory reading?
I think in terms of introductory reading, your tutors will send out anything that's a compulsory before you arrive, and in advance. I think I got mine in June or July with some things to read. And again, with that, obviously, as you're coming into the uni, that could really stress you out, because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm starting at Oxford, I've got to do this work. But actually, it's just meant to help you. It's not a kind of test. Like, you're here, we're going to test you. It's more of a to help you ease into it once you start term. And it's never anything, too strenuous. It's just maybe a couple articles or some books, or just things to ease you into it. But in terms of reading that they set you, that was my experience.
For biomed, I know that they send out this quite long and comprehensive reading list, but it's not actually to be read before you get here. So it's just all the key textbooks just for when you're writing your essays once you're here. But I think they send it just so, like, if you wanted to, you could just flick through it, get like a feel for what the subject is, because obviously no one does biomed before they come here. So like what biomed actually is can be a bit of a mystery. Like, it still is a bit of a mystery to me, even though I'm doing it. But I think like the most important thing is just enjoy the summer. Like, this is the one time you're not going to have any work to do. So I think definitely just do whatever you want. If you don't want to do anything and you just want to like sit outside, just go sit outside, like go on holiday, just like enjoy your time before like you actually have things to be doing.
Yeah, I would definitely say that was the case. I think it is a bit different if you're doing languages, because half of the course is literature based, and you are studying set books, and you I guess, unlike with a textbook where you might be taking a chapter from it, or using certain bits, you are going to be tested on those books. So I remember I got my first essay on one of the books before the end of Freshers Week, in fact, which is a bit daunting as a fresher coming in, and all my friends are enjoying the end of Freshers Week, and I'm there on a Friday night stressing about my first essay before it's even the end of Freshers Week. And so I'm happy that I did actually read the books before I started term. But again, that can be done in September. We have really long summers, or term starts really late compared to other unis. It doesn't have to be something where you're reading from the start of June. Enjoy the summer, as Hannah said, and enjoy your last summer of complete freedom, I guess. You still have long summers once you're a student, but you'll have some work to do perhaps. So really enjoy that. But I guess if you're doing languages, or maybe English literature as well, do think about having a look at the books, because you will be tested probably directly on them rather than on a different subject, and you're using it as a textbook. But yeah.
Someone's also asked, can you really go punting whenever you want at St Hilda's?
In the summer term, yes. I mean, in the winter, our punts are sort of closed off. But again, behind you in your background, you can see them. That's them there. And you literally go to, you can book them out on your online portal, and then you go collect the keys, and then you can just use them for free. And so it's really nice, especially when you've got people visiting you. I think it's quite a big flex, especially if it's like parents or something or friends, but I'll take you punting, because it's, you know, quite stereotypically an Oxford thing. So it's really nice to have people when they visit to just show them a bit of Oxford. And it's really pretty to go around and see Christchurch Meadows, and then college as well as you go past. So it's really nice in the summer.
I guess the next question is, are you any good at punting?
I have managed to get through my entire first year and not actually punted. I have simply sat and been punted, and I've thoroughly enjoyed that. But I cannot speak for whether or not I'm actually any good at it. So we'll find out if I actually try it again at some point.
Yeah, I've been about 6 or 7 times now, and the first time I was absolutely terrible, partly because I was doing it from the wrong side. People don't know, but there's an Oxford and a Cambridge side of the punt, and which side you do it on is based on that. And the Oxford side this is not a Oxford versus Cambridge thing, but it is much more stable to punt from the Oxford side, which is the not the flat bit, the bit in the dip. And once I started doing it from there, for my second time, grew in confidence, and now I'm quite an accomplished punter. I think I can get people around quite quickly. I've never fallen in, and never planned to, but it does take a while. I've known very few people that could pick it up and be great from their first time. And I normally do the punting now. I don't normally sit down, but yeah, touch wood. Hopefully, we'll not fall in anytime soon, but we'll see.
Great. I'm just going to see if we've got any more questions. Doesn't look like it. Okay, so I think we might bring this to a close. Has anybody got any final last tips or insights to St Hilda's that you'd like to share before we close? Anything quirky about Hilda's that people might not know about, maybe?
We have a wonderful college cat named Teabag. Really is the star of the show at Hilda's. Teabag has her own Instagram account, and you will often find students snapping photos of Teabag in various different places in college, and you'll see them uploaded to the account. Not the most friendly cat initially, but once she has your trust, she's a sweetheart. So yeah, we have a lovely college cat.
Cool. Anything else? Rachel or Hannah? Or any other insights that you can think of? I think we've covered quite a lot, so quite thoroughly. No, that's absolutely fine, no problem. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope the session has been really informative for you. If you do have any questions that do crop up, we are available for the next hour or so. We will finish at about 4 o'clock. So do let us know about those questions and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon.